Good morning and welcome to the investor webinar for Arizona Lithium with the ASX code AZL, a company focused on the sustainable development of the Big Sandy Lithium project in Arizona. This week, the company announced the commencement of the scoping study at Big Sandy. Today's webinar will be a Q&A session, so please feel free to send through any questions via the panel at the bottom of the screen. To tell us more, I'm joined by Managing Director Paul Lloyd.
Good morning, Amy, and good morning to all our shareholders. So the announcement in regards to the commencement of our feasibility study at the Big Sandy project in Arizona is a very exciting one for our management team. We have a very good management team on the technical side based in Arizona, and they have done a significant amount of work to get to this point where we can appoint Ausenco engineers to complete a scoping study. A significant amount of that work has been the drilling of the project, and as most people would know, it's a sedimentary lithium project that basically outcrops at surface, and so it's a very simple mining process. We drilled 39 holes and came up with our maiden resource of 320,000 tonnes of LCE. So in regards to any future production, that's approximately 12 years mine life. So we have a substantial resource from a very small drilling program, and that provides a lot of excitement to our project because it was only over 4% of our land holding. So there's a box that we ticked in regards to the scoping study. And the other box that I suppose we've just recently ticked is the process test work that we've completed with Hazen in Colorado. Our engineering manager based in Phoenix, Doug Pitts, has done a sensational job dealing with Hazen, and we've had quite a number of breakthroughs in regards to the processing, to the point where we have now developed up a flow sheet, and that flow sheet can be used in the scoping study. But most importantly, that flow sheet can be used to build a research facility. And that's the next big step for us, is to construct our research facility, and we can process material at that research facility on a larger quantity than Hazen have been doing. And that is maybe 3 to 4 months away from commencement and construction. So I'm very excited about that research facility.
Great, thanks, Paul. So we've had a few questions come through. Our first question is, if all key milestones continue to go to plan, when would you expect to be in full production of battery-grade lithium?
It's a good question, Amy, and it's a little early to say right at this moment. We obviously have a very strong lithium market, and we would like to get into production as soon as possible. Once we've constructed the research facility and fine-tuned that flow sheet, we'll be in a much better position to understand when we would be going into production. The US does not have any real production of lithium to speak of right at this moment. There's a number of projects in the US that are advancing, but all those projects need to go into production to justify the demand for lithium from the EV revolution. And we are basically at the center of the EV revolution in the US, being in Arizona. There's obviously a lot of Tesla cars running around on the road, but I can see that the battery plants that are being built in and around Arizona, that this lithium will never leave the borders of the state of Arizona. So huge demand for our product, and a lot of government encouragement to go into production. And that may be county government, that may be the state government, and also the federal government. So for our project, the planets are really aligning with the increase in the commodity price, demand for the product, and our location in Arizona, with a massive amount of infrastructure and also a very good ore body that can be easily mined with very little environmental impact. We have a project that's really at surface, so we can do surface mining. We're not building a large pit that can't be backfilled, and we are hoping to do zero CO2 emissions from our mining operations, and 100% rehabilitation of our ground. And we are producing lithium for the EV revolution and to meet President Biden's zero CO2 emissions by 2050.
And could you please provide an update on the BLM approval?
Yes. So the BLM is the Bureau of Land Management. It's a federal agency and they own the land in which the Big Sandy project sits on. There's 311 BLM claims. And when you want to do any sort of work on those claims, you need to apply to the Bureau of Land Management. We initially did a small program, as I mentioned before, the 39 holes to come up with the maiden resource under a different regime. Now that we want to drill an additional 145 holes and take a bulk sample, we needed to apply to the Bureau of Land Management under a different regime, which involved an environmental assessment and other assessments. We completed that work and we lodged that. In the time from lodging to now, we have been constantly talking to the Bureau of Land Management in regards to fine-tuning that submission. And I'm very confident that we will get a positive result from the BLM within this quarter of 2022. The BLM are very pro-mining and they are just working with us to tick a few more boxes in regards to that submission, and we'll be back out there drilling. I worked 10 years in the drilling industry, so I'm a very keen driller. So I am looking forward to drilling this project and increasing the resource just as much as all the shareholders that constantly contact me in regards to the BLM approval. But we need to bear that in mind, that we do have a 12-year mine life already from a very small drill out of this project. So if you look at the risks associated with mining projects, this one, the resource is not one of those large risks. The risk here is the processing, and that's why we have turned our attention to the processing via our appointment of Hazen and via the expansion of our technical team in Phoenix to build a research facility and take that processing risk out of the Big Sandy project.
And could you please talk more about the potential for resource expansion?
Yes. So the planned 145 holes, most of those holes are just immediately to the north and to the south of the existing resource. This is not a complicated ore body when it comes to geology. And so we will quite easily expand that resource via the drilling of those holes once we are approved by the BLM. So if you say that you've got 12 to 15 year mine life at the moment, I could see that easily being expanded to 50 years. And 50-year mine life is a long time for a lithium market that is not that big at the moment, but it is expanding very quickly.
And we've had another question come through. What is the timeline for the completion of the research facility?
The research facility will be commenced fairly soon, and that is about 4 to 5 months for construction. And so not a long period of time, but we do have a good team in the US, and we do have a consultant that has built another research facility for a sedimentary lithium project. So we are very lucky to have his services, and I'm very confident that we'll construct the research facility very quickly. It's a challenging time with COVID-19 and people not being available. The US is no different to Australia, but we'll work through those challenges and we look forward to it.
Great, thanks, Paul. And does the company plan to produce itself, or are you open to JVs and mergers?
At the moment, we are looking to produce ourselves. We do have the ability to produce ourselves. We've produced from test work, we've produced pre-grade lithium, so we know we can produce an extremely high quality product. We understand that the geology and the mining is very simple. So once we crack the code on the processing and the optimization of that processing, most of the risks are taken out of this project. So yes, we would go to do our own mining and processing.
Great. And our next question is, when the resource is increased, will the priority be to increase the mine life or increase the production of lithium annually?
This type of project, you're talking about producing 20,000 to 30,000 tonnes of LCE, which is a substantial amount for the current lithium demand worldwide. But I know that will grow. Our investors would read constantly about the lithium market, and you know that that will increase massively over the next 5 or 10 years. So we'll look at the market and as it expands, but we'll be building a plant that could be easily expanded. So at the moment, we would look at that sort of 20 to 30,000 tonnes of LCE production, and with the knowledge that we could easily expand that plant in the future.
Is there the possibility that the battery grade lithium can reach 99.95%?
Yes, that's a good question, but there's always the possibility you can do that. It's just a matter of cost benefit analysis to take out the impurities in those very small percentages. So yes, there is a possibility we can do that, and that is a part of the further test work that we're doing.
And another question that's just come through is, do you intend to do a US listing?
We are currently listed on the OTCQB, and we have a executive director, Mr. Matthew Blumberg, based in New York City, and he has been talking to a number of investors in New York and funds, etc. So we're looking to expand our presence in the US. This is a US-based project, and any additional directors that come on board will be New York or US at least residents. And so we are listed on the OTCQB market, to answer the question, and we will look to maybe change that listing, or at least look at a NASDAQ listing over the next 12 to 18 months as we grow the market cap of the company.
And when will the next capital raise be?
We're in a very good position where we have approximately $20 million in the bank. We have some commitments to the research facility, to the drill out, and to the further testing, but we are very well funded right at this moment. I'm working on a few ESG opportunities that will utilize a little bit of that cash, but right at this moment, we are well funded, and we do have listed options that are in the money, and they're expiring in November of this year. So more cash will come in. So we are in a very good, healthy cash position and not looking to do a raise unless it was to a strategic partner, etc. But right at this moment, we don't need to raise funds for at least the next 12 months.
And another question that's come through is, could you please elaborate on the strategy at the Lordsburg Project?
Yes, the Lordsburg Project is a really interesting one. It's a lithium brine project. It sits within a closed basin, very similar to the Clayton Valley in Nevada, which is the only producing lithium mine in all of the US presently. And we have just completed some geophysics work on that, and we've got a little bit more test work to do before we come up to a drill target and a hole position for drilling a well into that basin, which has never been done before. So very exciting, and we're progressing that one along, but we are extremely focused on the Big Sandy project. The Big Sandy project, we're creating something really special here with the Big Sandy project. So we don't want to take our eye off the ball, but we are progressing the Lordsburg lithium brine project.
Great, thanks, Paul. Could you please talk more about the forecasted demand for lithium?
Well, the forecast demand for lithium, you can read, if you Google it, there are so many articles, and I don't think I've ever seen one that is negative in regards to the demand for lithium. We all know about the EV revolution, but also in places like Arizona that are very hot states, we're talking about storage of solar and wind power via lithium batteries. So it's not just about the electric vehicle revolution. There's the trucks that are coming into production, the electric trucks, and some of those manufacturers are based in Arizona. And then you also have and we have tweeted about the Ford F-150. When you go to the US, a lot of the tough guys there have big pickups. Well, now they're going electric with the pickups. So the demand for EVs is increasing massively, and lithium is not one of the commodities that they talk about replacing with modern type of batteries. So the demand for lithium, I just can't see it slowing down any time at all if you want to meet 2050 zero CO2 emissions. The whole world is wrapped up in the demand for lithium. So again, as I said before, we are in a ideal position, being in the US and getting government approval, because they don't have a lot of lithium production right at this moment.
Thanks, Paul. That's all the questions for today. If you do have any further questions, please feel free to reach out via the contact details at the bottom of the ASX releases. We look forward to hosting you again soon.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you to our shareholders. We appreciate the loyalty that you provide to us, and we enjoy communicating with shareholders. So if anyone wants to call me, my mobile number is on the end of every announcement. And if I don't pick up your call, I will return your call. Thank you.